Chapter 3, Working with Selections. I'm on page 52 and 53 of the Adobe Photoshop CC 2018 Classroom in a Book. So this chapter deals with selections and making layers. So if you turn to page 54, you can see that some of the selection tools that we're going to be using, the rectangle marquee tool, and then if you click and hold, you can see that there's also the elliptical, the single row, and the single column. These two you barely ever use. Some other selection tools that you could be using is and you click and hold right here, and you can see that there's a lasso, the polygon, and the magnetic lasso tool. And then some color-based selection tools, which means that these selection tools work based on the color of the pixels that you select, is the quick selection tool and the magic wand. Okay, so getting started, page 54. Remember that when you guys begin working, if your panels are all over the place and you want to get them back to the default, your book doesn't tell you to do this, but I suggest going to Workspace and then going over to Reset Essentials. The Learn, minimize that. It takes up a lot of space and you don't really need it for what we're doing. Browse and Bridge. So we're going to open up Lesson 3. You're going to go to File, Browse and Bridge, and then where do we get our files from? The Student G Drive. So we're going to go over to this PC, the Student G Drive, the PHS, PFC, Common G Drive, Art, Computer Graphics, and the 2018 Photoshop Book Tutorial files. We're going to open up our lesson files, Lesson 3, and then here's your project. So go ahead and just click that and open it. Minimize, and then here we have it open. So the next thing you need to do, you know that right now this file is technically in the G drive. So we need to save it to our H drive. So you need to go to File and then Save As. And then you need to go to your H drive under Computer Graphics. You go to your book tutorial folder, which I'm not sure I even have a book tutorial folder on my computer, which it does not look like I do. But then you're going to save your file type. You need to save it as 03. Make sure it's in your book tutorial folder. Your 03 working, and then here, make sure this says Photoshop, which is a PSD file, and then hit save. Okay, next page, 56. So select the zoom tool in the tool panel and then zoom in so that you can see the sand dollar. So here's your zoom tool, and you can click and drag over that sand dollar so you're telling the computer, this is what I want to see. Click the quick selection tool in the tool panel, number 2. So we need to find our quick selection tool right here. Select Auto Enhance in the options bar. Here's our tool options, and you need to select Auto Enhance. Okay, click on an off-white area near the outside edge of the sand dollar. So we're going to click right here, and it selected this entire sand dollar based on the pixels, the pixel colors. So number 1, if the sand dollar is not selected, repeat the previous exercise to select it. Zoom out so you can see both the shadow box and the sand dollar. So I'm going to press and hold Alt, and I can click, or I can use my scroll button on my mouse. Select the Move tool and notice that the sand dollar remains selected. Drag the selected area, which is the same dollar, to the upper left area of the frame, which is labeled A. Position over the silhouette in the frame, leaving the lower part of the silhouette showing as the shadow. Do you see how it's kind of dark right there? Choose Select, Deselect, and then save your work. File, save. You don't have to hit Save As. Okay, dropping down on the bottom of page 57, it looks like we're going to deal with manipulating selections. Turn to page 58. It says select the zoom tool and click the plate of shells at the bottom of the image window to zoom into at least 100% view. Right, here's the plate of shells. We're going to click it. Do you see how the percentage changes? So we're at 66%. Now we're at 100%. I'm going to click and hold the space bar and move this up so we can see it a little better. Use 200% view if the entire plate of shells will still not fit in the image window. Select the Elliptical Marquee tool, which is hidden underneath the Rectangle Marquee tool. Move the pointer over the plate of shells and drag diagonally across the oval plate to create a selection, but do not release the mouse button. It's okay if your selection does not match the plate of shells yet. So we're going to click here and drag diagonally. So it doesn't match quite yet. Move the pointer over the plate of shells. Okay, no, we're on number 4. Still holding down the mouse button, press the space bar and continue to drag the selection instead of resizing the selection, you're now moving it. Position it carefully over the plate. I'm going to hit Control D to deselect and try it again. So we're going to click and drag, and so now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold that space bar and I can line up my edges. I'm going to let go of the space bar and change the shape of my Elliptical Marquee tool and let go. So now I have a really nice selection. I'm going to do that again for you. So let's say I'm way over here. Notice how it's really off. So now to move it, I can hold that space bar. The entire selection can change. I can move it around. Now I'm going to hold the space bar again. Just keep moving it around until you get a perfect selection. Okay, we're on page 59. When the selection border is positioned appropriately, release the mouse button. Choose View, Fit on Screen, or use the slider in the navigator panel to reduce the view so that you can see all of the objects. So up here at the top, we're going to go to View and then Fit on Screen. And so now we can see everything together. If the plate of shells is still not selected, repeat the previous exercise to select it. Number 2 on page 59 says, with the Elliptical Marquee tool selected in the tool panel, press Control and move the pointer within the selection. So if I hit Control, I now have a little arrow with a pair of scissors next to it. I'm going to let go of Control and I'm back to the normal Elliptical Marquee tool. Drag the plate of shells onto the area of the shadow box labeled B. You'll use another technique to nudge the oval plate into the exact position in a minute. Release the mouse button, but don't deselect the plate of shells. Okay, so I'm going to press and hold Control, and then I need to click this and drag it over. Release the mouse button, but don't deselect. Press the arrow up on your keyboard a few times to move the shell upward.
Good morning, flight students and staff. These are your daily announcements.
So you can move it with your arrow key.
August 21st. There will be a mandatory call.
Hold down the shift as you press the arrow key up.
Interested in playing basketball this year.
You can move it
This
even
meeting
more.
will take place in the cafeteria after school from 2:35 to
Choose
3:30.
View, Show,
White with any questions.
Selection Edges
The
to
Jam Club car
deselect
meeting will be today after
the
school from
command
2:30 to 3
hiding in the
Mrs.
selection
Patrick's room in
border
High
around the
Freshman
plate of
Center,
shells.
C212. If you have an interest in playing guitar, bass, keyboard, bongos, or singing with other kids who
Choose
love music,
View,
this is the club for you.
and then Show.
Science Olympiad is one of the premier science competitions in the nation. All interested students are welcome to
And then we're going to
attend the call-out meeting after
deselect
school today
selection
in room
edges.
C130. See Mrs. Ulmer
So the
for any
shell is
questions.
still selected. I can move it
Are you a
around.
poet?
I
Do you
just
write
can't see
slam
the
and rhyme?
selection edges
Submit an
anymore.
entry for the Slam and Rhymes Challenge and win a prize. The top 10
Choose
winners will read their
Select,
poetry in front of
Deselect,
an audience at Close Hall at Butler University in November. See Mrs.
or press
Wilson at
Control D on your
F111 for a
keyboard.
flyer and
Choose
application.
File, Save.
Girls Inc. will start its fall
I'm going to
cycle
sign
on
out
Wednesday,
until the
August
announcements
22nd.
are over.
Meeting